Hello my lovelies, welcome to my little cottage by the sea, the place where I love to stitch and craft my way to a vintage inspired and sustainable lifestyle. You find me today at my sewing machine and I have just started sewing an outfit that I'm really excited about. You may have seen my recent romantic sewing plans for summer and I am full on embracing this whole idea about romantic dressing. It's really captured my imagination. It's really reinvigorated my need to be sewing, which was already quite profound in the first place. I am well on the way with sewing my first piece for this outfit, the Calypso skirt, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So I thought I'd take you through the plan. Oh, I've got thread in my tea. Occupational hazard. All you sewers will have done the same, or drunk your tea and found a pin at the bottom of it. Or was that just me? So my plan is to make an outfit, and the first thing that I'm doing is my Calypso skirt. I'm sewing it out of this Liberty print Wiltshire berries, lovely shades of pink. And to go with it, but also to go with everything else, I'm sewing up one of my Greta blouses, but with sort of sleeves like this. This is actually a Greta blouse, out of some linen. So I want to have the little frill. I might cut it a bit lower actually and do the statement sleeve, and then this lovely tiered elasticated waist skirt will go with it. So that's the plan, and I thought it'd just be really lovely to sew and chat with you in my sewing room over the next few days. I created the Calypso skirt pattern from this vintage skirt in a beautiful old Liberty paisley that I found in a charity shop, and essentially it's a cutting plan. What I really love about the Calypso, and you'll see in the final reveal, are the proportions, because when it comes to tiers and ruffles and fluffles, oh my, the proportions are everything. It's really better to go large or go home. Of course, I'm ably assisted throughout this make by Ghost. So I have ironed the hem up on this lower tier. The top and middle tier are under this fluffy one here. He's very busily grooming himself. So I'm going to try and sew with this going on, which is basically what happens all the time. So I'm going to get sewing and we'll see how I do. I'm sewing the Calypso skirt according to the instructions as given in the PDF. I wanted to take a little moment to just share how I do my gathering, and I work on the quarter principle. So the edge that I'm gathering I divide into 4, and then I gather between each of those sections, so gather 4 separate sections. The seam that I'm going to be pinning and sewing the gather onto, I also quarter, and then I can align those quarter points and evenly distribute in much smaller sections between those quarter points, and it really seems to make the whole process much less frustrating, and I very rarely have to deal with the nightmare that is a broken thread on a gathered seam. So my plan, once I move the floofster, is to use the curtains. So these are curtains I altered for somebody and they didn't want the scraps back. And they've got this lovely hem. So what I want to do is create a Greta top with a short sleeve and utilise this lovely hem for the hem. And I'm going to adapt the cutting plan that you get in the Greta blouse and dress patterns. So the idea of the Greta is that it's a zero waist, as zero waist as can be, size inclusive. So basically by taking certain measurements and doing the calculations, very simple, that I have provided, and if I can do them with this calculator, anybody can. And I'm working on some sort of hack ideas, and I think I might do a little extra little booklet that you can get on top of the Greta, so that you can take that concept and do myriad iterations of Greta, because actually that dress as a concept it's a very, very age-old way of creating clothing, which, you know, the history of cloth, the history of fashion really fascinates me. The sustainability of it really fascinates me. And also you don't have to cut out loads of paper, you can just do this directly on fabric. But there are a lot of dresses that pattern cutting companies are putting out that are essentially this, and I've been using this method for decades now and love it. So that's what the Greta is all about. So I am going to move Ghost, he's probably going to be really cross, and get on with cutting out my new version of a Greta blouse. So let's crack on. Come on. Woody doody doody bobby. Oh, Snuffles. How is it on here? Look, here's one here. Come on. Oh. Smush, smush. There we go. There we go. It's lovely. I just wanted to show you how I've done the sides here. So I've used the hem of the curtains, the original curtains, as the hem, and what I did was I just undid that about 6-7 centimeters either side of the side seam and sewed it together with I actually did 1 centimeter seam allowance on this, even though I think it's 1.5 in the Greta sewing bit of the guide, and I've overlocked down to sort of just inside the, or just below the line. There's actually like some little tucks there, but hopefully those will just press out. And then I've just refolded that back up. I'm going to top stitch that and just do the same with that. Then I'm going to overlock the hem of the sleeve and turn it up and just put elastic in there. And then I've got to see if I've got some bias binding. So I'm just going to bias bind this down, and then when you put the drawstring in, it gathers it all up, so the frills and the neckline ruches and gives you that lovely gathered effect. So this has come together really, really quickly. I think I've only been sewing this for a couple of hours. Cut it out, sewing, it's only taken a couple of hours, and that's with working out these hacks, these adaptations for Greta, but very nearly done. We're on the home run now. It's Wednesday evening and my studio's so hot, so I'm melting. And this is where we are with the top. So I've put the elastic in, actually managed to do it so it's not going to cut off circulation, although this one is a little bit looser than this one, but anyway. And it's looking really fab. I'm loving it, but the ruffle is erect, and one doesn't want an erect ruffle. This has happened because where I've put the bias binding in, I understitched it. It's just, I was on autopilot, and actually what I needed to do really was top stitch this before I put the drawstring in. I mean, it's sort of it just gives a sort of different look, but I want flaccid ruffles on this top, not erect ones. So I'm going to remedy that and then reinsert it's just like a cotton tape I'm using at the moment until I find something that I prefer. And then my Greta blouse hack is done. Not really getting the actual fabulousness of it because it's over this dress and, as I said, erect ruffles. My sewing of my romantic summer outfit got slightly waylaid by a flare-up of autoimmune, a horrible summer cold, and essentially a studio that is a sauna. But now that I've finished my outfit, I'm absolutely over the moon. I love both of these pieces. They were really lovely, soothing, easy sews, which was all my brain could deal with all these adverse conditions going on. And I'm just really looking forward to wearing both of these to all these romantic events that I probably delusionally think that I shall be attending this summer. I hope you've enjoyed spending a little time sewing a romantic summer outfit with me. This one has surpassed my expectations. I know that I'm going to be wearing it non-stop throughout the rest of summer. which goes on a little bit too long as far as I'm concerned, because I am not a summer person. But with some really lovely outfits, I feel like it can pep me up and get me through the longer summer days. And I know that I've used two patterns or pattern cutting plans, pattern guides that are my own, but I really love them. As ever, my lovelies, thank you ever so much for taking the time to spend the time with me here in my little cottage by the sea. And wherever you are in the world, take very good care of yourself, and I shall see you next time. Bye.